working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. Global power talks. China's top diplomat Wang Yi and U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan are set to meet in Thailand today. This high-stakes meeting aims to thaw icy relations between the two superpowers, strained by tech, trade, human rights, Taiwan, and the South China Sea tensions. Can they find common ground? Beware of fake friends. Singaporean authorities sound the alarm. Fake friend scams are on the rise. Over 6,300 people fell victim last year. Be cautious online. Don't let a friendly face mask a hidden con. And Philippine education takes a digital leap. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte unveils DigiEd 2028, a groundbreaking project to bridge the digital divide and connect schools nationwide. Education is about to get a major upgrade in the Philippines. First in our news, China's top diplomat Wang Yi is set to meet with U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan in Thailand today. Now, this meeting is aimed at improving relations between the two powers, which have been tense due to several issues such as technology, trade, human rights, Taiwan, and competing claims in the South China Sea. Now, both sides have previously agreed to maintain strategic communication and responsibly manage the relationship. Despite Wang's announcement that ties have stabilized in the last year, sources of tensions remain, with the two powers recently clashing over the elections in Taiwan. The U.S. lawmakers' visit to the self-ruled island this week has further fueled tensions. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has urged the United States to stop infringing and provocative actions and stop causing trouble for peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. Still in Thailand, a constitutional court ruling has cleared former Prime Ministerial candidate Pita Limjaroenrat of violating election law. The case centered around shares in the now-defunct ITV television station, which Pita claims he inherited from his father. Pita, who leads the Progressive Move Forward Party, or MFP, faced accusations of violating election law due to his ownership of shares in a defunct media company. However, the court ruled by a landslide 8-1 that the company wasn't active at the time of the election, thus not breaking any rules. As a result, Pita's status as an MP has been reinstated.
ณ วันที่ผู้ถูกร้องสมัครรับเลือกตั้งสมาชิกสภาผู้แทนราษฎรบริษัท ITV มิได้ประกอบกิจการหนังสือพิมพ์หรือสื่อมวลชนใดๆถือหุ้นบริษัท ITV ของผู้ถูกร้องตามคำร้องจึงไม่ทำให้มีลักษณะต้องห้ามมีให้ตนจึงวินิจฉัยว่าสมาชิกภาพของสมาชิกสภาผู้แทนราษฎรของผู้ถูกร้องไม่สิ้นสุดลงตามรัฐธรรมนูญ
Following the verdict, Pita expressed his desire to return to Parliament as soon as possible.
Do you want to go back to Parliament?
As soon as possible, but there's process. So we're asking the Parliament when I'm allowed to be back in. So there's a discrepancy between two organizations, which is the Constitutional Court and the Parliament. And whenever I'm allowed in, I'll be there.
Does this verdict?
I feel all right. I feel regular, like any other working day. In my mind right now is about the next steps of the kind of work that needs to be done, specifically the strategic roadmap of the party.
However, the politician still faces another challenge when the same court considers a petition next week, arguing that his party's pledge to reform Les Majestés laws amounted to an attempt to overthrow the democratic government. Despite the upcoming challenge, Pita remains confident in his position.
I think it's unrelated, but I'm still confident. Just to be clear that it's unrelated, but I'm confident because of the facts of the legal basis and my articulation last December.
Singaporean authorities have warned the public about a surge in scams in recent years, with last year seeing more than 6,300 people falling victim to fake friend scams. The scammers would contact victims pretending to be someone they know and ask for financial assistance.
Strange one that really involves victims receiving a call out of the blue. Hey, hello, do you remember me? And the victims just have to guess. So whatever names that the victims come up with, scammers will just take on their identity and say, yeah, that's me.
The total loss incurred by victims was equivalent to $16 million. In a recent case, 5 Malaysians were extradited to Singapore over fake friend scam calls involving over $1 million in lost funds. The men aged between 19 and 36 were arrested for suspected involvement in scams targeting Singaporeans. The syndicate is believed to be responsible for over 500 police reports and losses amounting to over $1.4 million since June of last year. If convicted of conspiracy to cheat, the 5 men face up to 10 years in jail and a fine. Education in the Philippines is about to get a major upgrade with the launch of the Department of Education's DGED 2028 project. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte announced this ambitious initiative, aiming to bridge the digital divide and connect schools across the nation. While acknowledging current obstacles like limited internet access in 31% of schools, Duterte assured swift action.
Through the DepEd DigEd 2028, we will pursue full digitization and interconnectivity of all DepEd offices and schools nationwide. We will provide school-wide Wi-Fi. Although our records show that 69% of our schools nationwide have access to internet connectivity, the truth is most are limited only to faculty rooms. We have initiated talks with Converge, PLDT, Globe, Starlink, and other internet providers with the aim of providing adequate internet access to both teachers and learners in our schools.
Beyond connectivity, DGED 2028 promises a transformational experience. Traditional textbooks will be joined by e-books, offering richer learning resources. Assessment systems will be modernized, allowing for large-scale computer-based evaluations. A central digital portal will serve as a treasure trove of educational materials and applications, accessible even in remote areas or during natural disasters.
Alongside traditional textbooks, we will also provide e-textbooks. To leverage digital technology, we have started consultations with various publishers to facilitate the provision of electronic textbooks. In the procurement of textbooks for the Matatag K-10 curriculum, we will require the winning bidder to provide us with electronic copies that learners may access anytime, anywhere. We will modernize assessment systems, including equipment and manpower, to enable large-scale assessments using computer-based methodologies. We will optimize the use of technology while ensuring its responsible and ethical use, especially with the world exploring artificial intelligence in both teaching and learning.
It will also streamline administrative processes and provide real-time education data to stakeholders. The launch event gathered high-level support with President Marcos Jr., senators, government officials, and international partners showing their commitment to this digital revolution.
I'm happy to note that this report, the Basic Education Report, is candid, clear, comprehensive, and I think you will agree, quite compelling. So certainly, the milestones achieved so far deserve our congratulations. Daghang salamat, Vice President Inday Sara. Your stewardship for the biggest agency with the largest constituency and, I would say, the most difficult mandate. Against this backdrop, our tasks that complicate our mission to recoup losses from the pandemic, retool the curriculum, and reform the system. It is not easy to reboot a system with millions of moving parts that are all closely interconnected, in which the failure of just a single part leads to the entire ecosystem failing. But as your report has shown, the building blocks of a modern, responsive educational system have now been laid. It is something we have waited for many, many, many years. At this juncture in our transformational journey, my instruction is simply this: padayon, padayon, padayon. We are cognizant that VP Sara and the whole of the DepEd family are pulling out all the stops for the betterment of our basic education by focusing on ensuring teachers' teaching, quality, competency, and well-being, improving our learners' capacities and nutrition, building better, more facilities to aid both teaching and learning. These goals will be hard to meet, as are all great endeavors. But I believe that we will get there with all that you have done thus far and with all that you will accomplish moving forward.
The UN's Trade and Development Body, UNCTAD, has raised concerns over the impact of escalating attacks on shipping in the Red Sea on global trade routes. Speaking virtually from Geneva, Jan Hoffman, chief of the UNCTAD Trade Facilitation Section, explained that maritime transport is the lifeline of global trade and that the Red Sea route and the Suez Canal are critical for global trade flows. However, major players in the shipping industry have halted Suez transit since November 2023, following Houthi-led attacks in the Red Sea.
More than 80% of volume of international trade in goods is carried by sea. And the percentage is even higher for most developing countries. So maritime transport is really the lifeline of global trade. We are very concerned that the attacks on Red Sea shipping are adding tensions, costs to global trade, exacerbating trade disruption due to geopolitics and climate change. Sea route and the Suez Canal is critical for global trade flows. The Suez Canal handles approximately 12 to 15% of global trade. For container shipping, it's even more important. 20% of the world's container trade goes through the Suez Canal. Now, the impact of the Red Sea crisis on shipping costs and rates now has been dramatic. The surge in the average container spot rate from Shanghai went up by plus $500, and that was the highest ever weekly increase.
Compounding the situation is the severe drought hitting the Panama Canal, another key route for global trade. Water levels have reached their lowest point in decades, severely reducing the number and size of ships that can transit through the canal.
Inflation is of concern. Prolonged disruptions, especially to container shipping, would threaten and disrupt global supply chains, leading to delayed deliveries of goods, increased costs, potential inflation. And we have seen that this can happen during the COVID-induced supply chain crisis.
Now, the plane crash in Russia near the Ukrainian border has sparked accusations and concerns on the global stage. Here's what you need to know. A Russian military transport plane crashed in Belgorod, killing all 74 people on board. Now, Russia claims the plane carried 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war and accuses Ukraine of shooting it down. Ukraine denying responsibility and saying the plane could have been carrying missiles.
The United Nations is not in a position to verify these reports or the circumstances of the crash. What is clear is that the incident took place in the context of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and ongoing war. To avoid further escalation, we urge all concerned to refrain from actions, rhetoric, or allegations that could further fuel the already dangerous conflict.
Russia demanding an explanation from Ukraine and calls the incident a barbaric crime.
Все имеющиеся у нас сегодня данные указывают на то, что мы имеем дело с преднамеренным, продуманным преступлением. Руководство Украины прекрасно знало о маршруте и способе транспортировки солдат к месту заранее согласованного обмена. Он должен был состояться вчера, 24 января, во второй половине дня. Это уже не первая подобная операция, однако на сей раз киевский режим по каким-то необъяснимым любому здравомыслящему человеку причинам решил ее сорвать, причем самым варварским способом. Возможно, что-то нам всем пояснит сегодня представитель киевского режима. Важно понять, идет ли речь о несогласованности действий украинских вояк и чьей-то самостоятельной инициативе, или же о сознательном, продуманном преступлении, не укладывающемся ни в какую моральную систему координат.
The U.S. accusing Russia of trying to shift blame and reiterates that Russia bears full responsibility for the war.
Russia's rush to call for a council meeting fits a now familiar pattern right out of the Russian playbook with which we are all familiar. Russia has repeatedly attempted to shift responsibility for the tragedies of this senseless war of choice as though it is the victim and not the aggressor. While we work to gather the facts and ascertain what happened, it bears repeating that the Kremlin bears full and ultimate responsibility for starting and continuing this war.
Ukraine said the plane was a legitimate military target and criticizes Russia's handling of the prisoner exchange.
Let me remind you that according to the laws of warfare, military transport aircraft of the armed forces of the Russian Federation is a legitimate military target. Ukraine was not informed about the number of vehicles, routes, and means of transportation of the captives. This alone may constitute intentional actions by Russia to endanger the lives and safety of the prisoners. The landing of a transport aircraft in a 30-kilometer zone of combat operations poses a danger to the entire exchange process, and Russia, as the responsible for the safety of the POW's site, should take all necessary measures, including to inform of all transfer-related details in the war zone and its proximity, to comply with all relevant international provisions.
It flew where no helicopter had flown before. NASA's Ingenuity, a tiny 4-pound marvel of engineering, achieved the groundbreaking feat of powered flight on another world, Mars. But after nearly 3 years of defying expectations and pushing the boundaries of exploration, Ingenuity's remarkable journey has now come to an end. Originally intended for just 5 test flights, Ingenuity soared for a total of 72 times, logging over 2 hours of Martian airtime. It transformed from a technology demonstrator into a valuable aerial scout, aiding its robotic companion Perseverance in the search for microbial life on the red planet. Ingenuity faced Martian challenges head-on: dust storms, treacherous terrain, a malfunctioning sensor, and even the red planet's bone-chilling nights that threatened to freeze its onboard systems. But the ingenuity of its engineers kept it aloft, devising new protocols and workarounds to extend its mission far beyond its intended lifespan. However, on its final flight on January 18th, disaster struck. Images revealed damage to 1 or more rotor blades, likely sustained during landing. The last 25% of a blade was sheared off, leaving Ingenuity grounded for good. Though its time in the Martian skies is over, Ingenuity's legacy lives on. It paved the way for future aerial exploration on Mars and beyond, inspiring a new generation of engineers and scientists to reach for the stars.
We have opened the skies of another planet.
Ingenuity really opened the door for aerial exploration on Mars.
It's just been this plucky little helicopter that just defied everybody's expectations.
I'm incredibly proud and grateful for all that Ingenuity has been able to give us.
What would you say to Ingenuity directly one last time?
You're gonna make me cry, you know.
What would I say to Ingenuity?
It's really hard to say goodbye to you.
I would say thank you.
Ingenuity, thank you for bringing us all together.
Thank you for leading the charge in our adventure on Mars, and we will never forget you.
Rest well.
Thank you, Ingenuity.
Thank you, Ingenuity.
Thanks, Ingenuity.
Thanks, Ingenuity.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.